41 people walked into a political rally in Karur. None of them walked out alive. A 22-month-old toddler, mothers, fathers, wives, husbands. The media called it a stampede, but there is a deeper truth that they will not tell you. The science says it was not a stampede and it was totally preventable. Hi, I'm Dr. Aditya, and today in Beyond the Blade, we'll be looking at the crowdburst which took place at the TVK campaign in Karur. First, let's kill a myth. What does the word stampede bring into your mind? A group of people running wild, stepping on each other, and dying due to that? Well, you're wrong. In most crowdburst situations, people do not die because they are being stepped on, but they die standing up, vertical, conscious, and unable to breathe due to the excessive crowd. This isn't about irrational behavior. This is what happens when humans become a fluid, and just like water has a boiling point, the crowd has a bursting point. Take a glass of water for example. Swirl it, the water moves in circles, right? But zoom in and look at the individual molecules. They are not moving in perfect circles. They are chaotic. They are random. The study of such systems is known as active matter physics. It is a study of systems where individual units have their own energy, but put together they form collective patterns. Today, we will be using this active matter physics to analyze what happened in Karur scientifically and how it could have been prevented. So, below a certain density of crowd, let's say if there are 2 people in a square meter, there is a lot of space for people to use. You have your own individual movements, you have your own individual agency. But think about 4 people in a meter square. Now think about 8 people in a meter square. That becomes very, very tight. There is not much space and there is not much movement. And along with that, the individual agency of the person is also taken away. Why? Because he cannot move anywhere individually, not in front, not in back, not to the sides, not anywhere. In such a scenario, you lose your individuality. You become a part of a collective fluid-like state, and that fluid-like state can crush you and it can kill you. In February of 2025, a groundbreaking study was published in Nature, the most respected scientific journal in the entire world. And that study found out something interesting but terrifying. The study compared 2 gatherings. One gathering which is done every year and which is in a controlled fashion, but still 5,000 people are put into a very cramped place and the program takes place. It also compared that program to another gathering inside Europe itself, which turned out to become a crowdburst. So they tried to figure out if they could predict anything which can happen before a crowdburst occurs, so that in order to protect people in the future as well from crowdburst phenomena. And what did that study say? The study found out that when crowd density exceeds 4 people per square meter, something spontaneous happens. The crowd starts to oscillate. Not because someone pushed, not because there was an external factor, but just because of the physics of it. These oscillations were named as chiral oscillations, waves of people where hundreds of people start moving in an orbital pattern. It almost looks choreographed, but it is not choreographed. It is physics telling you, it is the crowd showing you a sign that yes, I am about to burst. There is a so-called stampede which is about to happen in this particular crowd. The study also found that these waves occur at an interval of 18 seconds in critically dense crowds. So what is this critical density? Critical density is the minimum number of people inside a particular specified area which is required to cause these chiral oscillations. So without this many number of people, that is 4 people per square meter is the critical density told by the paper. So without this 4 people per square meter, these chiral oscillations will not happen. But when the crowd reaches a density beyond 4 people per square meter, then there is a possibility that these chiral oscillations will happen, and there is also a possibility of an impending stampede or crowd burst. See, and here is the crucial part. These oscillations start as small waves, not as huge waves as shown in our videos. They start as very small waves, and monitoring these small waves may provide a premonition of what is about to happen. By monitoring these waves, the stampede can be stopped. So if people are not being trampled to death, how do they usually die in such cases? There is something known as traumatic asphyxia. So when you are in a dense crowd, there are people pushing at you from all the directions and thereby compressing your chest both from front and back and also from all the sides. So the space required for the chest to breathe becomes very, very low as the crowd density increases. And this density can produce forces up to 10 tons. You imagine 10 tons is about 10 elephants standing on your chest. It can produce that amount of force and thereby stopping the breathing pattern of the person. The person's ribcage cannot expand. They cannot breathe. They are not able to inhale. And within 3 to 5 minutes, they are hypoxic already. Their face swells, blood vessels start bursting in their eyes, and finally, the neck and face turn into purple color due to cervicofacial congestion. This is how traumatic asphyxia works. So the person was suffocated by the crowd while standing, while they were conscious. So, what killed the person? Not the crowd, not a stampede. The persons were killed by simple physics. September 27, Velusamipuram in Karur, Tamil Nadu, India. The leader of the political party, Tamizhaga Vetri Kazhagam, Mr. Vijay, was scheduled to run a political rally starting from 3 p.m. at the Velusamipuram junction in Karur. But he's a very famous actor and he is also a very famous politician. So the crowd started arriving from 9 a.m. in the morning itself and they just kept coming. They started coming 6 hours earlier and they just kept on coming. By noon, the crowd had swelled beyond any estimate. The people who were there report a rough number of about 50,000 people. That is 5 times the permitted capacity. And basic amenities like water stations or medical posts, unavailable, or even if available, they were insufficient. Velusamipuram was a street which was barely enough to hold 10,000 people. But suddenly now there are 50,000 people standing in the same place meant for 10,000 people. If you can see this image, you can also see that there are a lot of small streets going on either side of Velusamipuram main road, which could have been escape areas. But sadly, as you see in this image, all these streets were blocked by bottlenecks such as banners or lightings or generators or any other things which were kept as a support for the program. So people had been waiting in the sweltering heat from morning 9 a.m. and by the time the TVK president, Mr. Vijay, reached the spot at 7 p.m., the people were already tired, restless, dehydrated and fatigued. Delays are a part and parcel of political rallies, but from a crowd science perspective, this delay could prove to be catastrophic. A restless crowd is a dangerous crowd. Dehydrated, exhausted people lose their ability to regulate the body temperature on their own. They also lose their ability to make rational decisions and their ability to maintain spatial awareness. The crowd was at breaking point even before the TVK leader arrived at the spot. What happened next was not a single event, it was 3 separate events of crowd burst which happened at 3 separate locations along the length of the Velusamipuram main road. At around 7:40 p.m. as the van entered the Velusamipuram main road, Vijay did not have his customary spotlight on inside his vehicle. The light was turned off. So, in order to catch a glimpse of their favorite political leader, 50,000 people surged towards the bus just to get a view of the leader. This is what triggered the first event, the stampede or the crowd burst, which happened near a tea stall.
If you see this video, the bus is not moving, but you can still see oscillations because of the crowd density, showing clearly that the bus movement is not the triggering factor, but the crowd density is.
And 15 minutes into his speech at around 7:55 p.m., his mic stopped working.
Check.
So the crowd near the bus could hear him talk, but people away from the bus also wanted to hear him talk, so they pushed towards the bus, starting the second crowd crush event where a lot of people lost their life. Some people tried to grab the leader's attention by throwing stuff at him and also shouting for him to stop the speech. He does stop the speech, he does realize that there is some problem going on nearby, but he is not able to understand what exactly is the issue which is happening on the ground. In order to be helpful, he tries to throw a few water bottles into the crowd, and he also asks the crowd whether he should continue talking or stop the speech at that point of time.
Continue.
For which he gets a reply asking him to continue talking. So he continues talking for another 15 minutes.
This was when Vijay's bus was standing still and his mic was working properly. We can still see the oscillations.
At around 8:15 pm, his speech is completed and the bus starts moving to exit the rally venue. As the bus starts to exit, people start following his bus, trying to get a glimpse or trying to touch their favorite star. The leader's bus starts to move, people start running behind the bus, and near a space called Ganapati Bakery, there is the third event which causes further crushing of the crowd and further deaths happen near Ganapati Bakery. People are literally caught in between moving crowds and the immovable objects such as barriers, barricades, or even walls and the floor. 9:30 pm, 33 deaths had been confirmed from the space, and that number would increase to a tragic 41 people dead in the event, including a 22-month-old toddler who lost their life. So now we will look at what should have happened and what did not happen to figure out whether this could have been prevented and how to not let such things happen to us in the future. What was the first failure? First failure was of crowd estimation. Permission was given for 10,000 people, but 50,000 people had arrived at the location even before the TVK leader could arrive at the location. So when does the administration intervene? When does the police intervene and stop the crowd from entering the area? When do they realize that the crowd has become big enough for a crowd surge or a crowd burst to happen? And where were the controlled entry points? Where were the barricades? Where were the police security, which are not seen, not visible in most of the videos which have been released during the rally and after the rally as well? And it is not that the police could not have anticipated the amount of crowd which will come for the TVK rally, because there is a specific intelligence wing in Tamil Nadu police whose only job is to get intelligence on things which happen inside Tamil Nadu, especially critical events such as political rallies. These intelligence officers are usually available at toll booths and checkpoints to figure out how many politically marked vehicles or how many vehicles of party workers are moving towards the rally site, thereby having a rough estimate of how many people will be attending the event. So, if intelligence was not able to anticipate the amount of crowd which will arrive at Velusamipuram, it begs the question, was this an intelligence failure? Failure number two. Failure number two was something known as segmentation. See, in crowd science, there is a golden rule. You do not allow free-flowing mass crowds of more than 5,000 people in an area. Why? Exactly due to the same reason that crowd bursts could happen in such a large crowd. So how are these things managed? They are separated into segments. Their segmentations are created, and the number of people inside each segment will be controlled by a controlled entry and exit point, so that the crowd remains less dense and more people are spread out inside a particular amount of area, which was not done in this political rally. Actually, moving beyond, any barricade which was there for segmentation had been removed by the local administration, which they say in court that it was for free flow movement of the vehicle and the people. The third failure was real-time monitoring. See, today we have technology. We have CCTV cameras, we have drones, we have AI-enabled CCTV surveillance that can calculate crowd density in real time. These tools already exist. These tools are already available, but they were not deployed, and this is failure number 3. Failure number 4 was medical planning. Though ambulances were available in the nearby area, there was no space for the ambulance to enter or exit the crowd without disturbing the crowd itself. And there were also bottlenecks created which were not prevented by the local administration, such as new banners, lights, poles, and other unauthorized structures which were erected just before the political rally. Remember those chiral oscillations that we talked about in the beginning, the oscillation of the crowd?
There are softwares and algorithms already available to detect these 18-second warnings and to anticipate whether a crowd burst could happen in a particular area.
This is done using CCTV footage. Was it available there? Was it deployed? No. The software tracks crowd density, identifies oscillation patterns, and sends a warning to authorities minutes before a crowd burst occurs so that it can be prevented. The software is already being used in famous places like during the Hajj pilgrimage, in European football stadiums, and even during music concerts. Was it available in Velusamipuram? No. Was it deployed? No. So we're not lacking technology. The technology is available. What we are lacking is the administrative will to put that technology to use. And that is a policy failure, not a technical failure. So what can you do to stay safe in a crowd? See, look, I know you're young, you're adventurous, you go to rallies, you go to concerts, you go to movie theaters. So here's what you need to know in order to stay safe in a crowded environment. If you ever feel the crowd swaying not because of the music but randomly in an oscillating pattern, you might be in danger. Immediately move towards the side of the crowd instead of trying to push forward or backwards, and try moving your arms. If you are not able to move your arms or raise them above your head, the density is already critical and crowd burst is imminent. Find the nearest exit and exit the venue, even if it means missing the program. The program is not as important as your life. If you're ever caught in a crush-like situation, cross your arms in front of your body like a boxer's guard and try to create a little bit of space in between the chest and your arms. This will give you a few seconds of breathing space, which could mean the difference between life and death. And last but not the least, and this is the most important point of all, and I cannot stress it enough, miss the FOMO. Do not have fear of missing out. It is okay. It is one party, it is one concert, it is one political rally. They are still gonna be there. Even if they are not gonna be there, that is still fine. It is more important to be alive than to be in a trending place. So kindly miss the FOMO. After the Karur disaster, a case was filed on the organizers and a separate case has been filed against the government by the organizers themselves. Now, the case is in the Supreme Court and thereby it is sub judice, and it will be wrong for us to pass any kind of judgment as to who was wrong where. But here is something that is not sub judice. The research, the science, the proven protocols which have been put into place throughout the world but are non-existent in India. Indian authorities don't treat crowd management like a science, but they treat it as a logistical afterthought. Until this mentality changes in administrative and security circles, such events may also repeat in the future. 41 people are dead. A toddler who cannot even say his first sentence is gone. This could have been prevented. Preparation could have saved them. Competence could have saved them. So now the Supreme Court will decide who is legally liable. But morally, we all are liable. Every time we choose spectacle over safety, and every time we attend a poorly managed event without asking a question, and every time we keep pushing forward instead of stepping back, we all are responsible for such events. We have done analysis of the imagery available in public domain such as Google Maps and from other news sources to compare and analyze which is the space where the stampede exactly took place. All our sources are available in a link in the first comment, and if you liked our content, kindly like the video, share the video to your friends, and also subscribe to us if you have not subscribed till now, and please press the bell icon so that you get a notification every time we upload a new video. This is Dr. Aditya signing off on Beyond the Blade. Stay safe, stay rational, and remember, in a crowd, your survival depends on understanding the science, not on following the crowd.